It seems, Julie, that things these days, although neither of us are parents, but it just seems that things are more polarized, more focused on boy stuff and girl stuff.
Yeah, I feel like these days you walk into a shop and it's pink or it's blue, which is always the way things are divided up these days, and these are the boys' toys and these are the girls' toys, and that's just the way it is. But if you think back to our toys when I was a child, it didn't feel like it was like that. Obviously a little bit, but I think it's become much more polarized.
I think there's just so many more toys. So, we didn't have that many toys, and the toy shops weren't as big, and you didn't have aisles and departments. You had like the little toy shop in the corner. I wasn't the 90s child, I was a bit more like an 80s child, but I'm sure it was the same. It's actually very shocking when you have your own children and you do realise how they, at some point, they absolutely sold, this is girls' toys and these are boys' toys. And I remember an early experience with my son when he was really quite young to really be cognizant of any of it, going into a toy shop with him and walking down the girls' aisle, which was just pink, and being struck by how everything that there was to play with for little girls was domestic. So there were washing machines and stoves and dolls and cots, and going to the boys' aisles were just absolutely, out there in the world. It was action figures, it was dinosaurs and volcanoes and science experiments and building things, and it was quite shocking, partly because I was trying to socialise my boy into be nurturing and domesticated, that I couldn't find a stove that wasn't bright pink and with flowers on it. Eventually we did find one, and him and his younger brother played with it happily for years. But the fact that there's this idea that, it's definitely sending very powerful messages to our children.
Yes, my brother and we played with Barbies together as kids, and these days if I joke about that, he gets very upset, and that's because everybody's been socialized now to think that that's not okay. He's not allowed to play with Barbies. Girls can, boys can't. So I think it's a very strong message.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's very damaging because, it raised a whole generation of men that didn't cook or help around the house. So it's very important that little boys are encouraged to do these things, and little girls expect their their male partners or their male friends to interact in the same way, so they can go out into the world and work and do all the fun stuff too.
Now, Lauren, you actually believe that little boys should be playing with dolls, and I completely agree with you. Tell us about this.
Well, I think there's one cartoon that I absolutely love, where there's two dads sitting there chatting, and one of their sons is busy playing with a doll. And he turns around and says, your son's playing with a doll. Like, don't you know that's going to, make him? And then you see that the screen sort of it zooms out, and you see both the dads there holding their other children. He's what, a dad, and
caring dad.
And if a daughter plays with a doll, it's like, and all these kitchen toys and everything, nurturing, caring, domesticated, great stay-at-home mum. But if a boy touches kitchen utensils or a doll, for that matter, it suddenly has a bearing on their sexual identity, which challenges a lot of people's stereotypes and prejudices. And so we don't allow them to experience those things, or experience things that they're interested in, and also learn valuable skills, like you say with your sons, about being nurturing and caring and being family-oriented and cooking. Yeah. I mean, we all love Jamie Oliver and the Cake Boss, but we don't want to let little boys play with kitchen utensils. I mean, it's such a complex issue, and we're complicated human beings.
I mean, a colleague was saying she bought her 2-year-old son a pram and a doll because she wanted to get him something to look after. She thought it was a nice developmental thing to encourage him to do, is to learn to look after something other than himself. And she'd allowed him to go through a shopping centre pushing this doll in a pram, and there were people commenting and people saying, "Wow, you're brave," and it feels absolutely ludicrous in this day and age that should mean anything. It also raises issues of how deeply homophobic our society is, that there's such a terror of our sons being gay, and that somehow you can make them gay by giving them a doll or making them domesticated. We definitely need to move on from this.